Is it happening right now? The move towards gold and silver. We're going to talk about Zimbabwe instituting a gold standard, but are there more issues that we can look at indicating to us that the gold and silver world are about to change and change in a major, major way? We know throughout history, what do countries always go back to? Gold and silver. We know as a fact that every fiat money system ever created, and the US dollar's not the first one. There's been hundreds and hundreds of examples in the past. Every fiat money system has failed. And what always winds up shining through as a store of value? Precious metals. Maybe the world's changed. Maybe we've entered a new era. But realistically, that's highly unlikely. Let's talk about Zimbabwe, and we got a lot more to talk about as well. Thank you all for being here. Don't forget, please give this a thumbs up. I'm glad you're with me in the basement. You are the most important part. It's a big honor that you individually, yes, you, the apple of your mama's eye, decide to join us here in the basement. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Wow, super chat, Derek. Thank you. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. Super chats are always super appreciated and go a long way to helping us make this channel possible. But Zimbabwe, breaking news. And let's be real, it's not just Zimbabwe. I was talking with Pat Holland just before I came on. We were talking about how gold silver has always been money in the world, period. We were thinking about some recent examples. Remember when Russia invaded Ukraine just 2 years ago, and the ruble was going to become rubble? All the sanctions put against the Russians. What did they do to save the ruble? You may not remember this, and you may want to think about this. They, for a short period of time, backed the ruble with gold. Did it work? Well, by all indications, the Russian economy is doing pretty well right now. Look, I'm an American. I'm a patriot, all that great stuff. I love what our Constitution says. I love Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson, right? All those great people. But we have to recognize that the Russians did have success backing the ruble with gold. What else do we hear? A new report from Bloomberg just a few days ago talking about how even now Russia is using gold and selling gold to help maintain their economy, using gold for trade with countries like Iran, and I believe they even said the United Arab Emirates. So this idea that silver and gold are money, our value, right, is not a foreign concept and is something that is going on right now. What about Zimbabwe? They've been plagued with hyperinflation over the years. Look, they're a big economy, not a massive economy, but a big economy, a country rich in natural resources. And because of fiscal and monetary mismanagement, they've had hyperinflation. Let's talk about what they're doing. Let me read a couple of these points and we'll share our thoughts with each other on this. It says, Zimbabwe's government said on Monday that it's introducing a gold-backed currency to replace the country's nearly worthless dollar, which most businesses have shunned, preferring the U.S. dollar or the South African rand. Minister of Finance and Economic Development Mthuli Nkubi told reporters in an online press conference that Zimbabwe was making the move to ensure sustained growth, introducing a gold-backed currency. That would be a gold standard. Did it work in the United States? Yeah, I've had conversations with the smartest guys in the room that recognize most of the greatness, the real, not nominal, not make-believe, not unicorn fart dust, not smoke and mirrors, the real greatness that occurred in the United States, the periods where we had real growth and became the great country that we are, occurred when we were on the gold standard, occurred when we had silver in our money. That's just a fact, okay? Maybe the Zimbabwe government is realizing that. He says, quote, really, this is a quest for currency stability. What has emerged over the years is the US dollar being most dominant. It says, quote, going forward, we want to make sure that the growth we have achieved so far, which is very strong, is maintained and even increased. We can only do that if we have further stability in the domestic currency. And the way to do that is perhaps to link the exchange rate to some hard assets such as gold. This is the gold standard, okay? It says the present day currency, known as the Zimbabwe dollar, the ZWL, was introduced in 2014. It's been losing value because, now think about this within the context of what's going on in the United States. Their Zimbabwe dollar lost value because of overprinting of notes, okay? And businesses failing to have confidence in the currency. We definitely check one of those boxes in the United States, right? During the health crisis of 2020, we know that our Federal Reserve printed 40% of the dollars that were ever in existence. I would call that overprinting, okay? It also helps to stabilize the value of the currency because ultimately the value of the currency would be determined to a greater extent by the value of gold. On paper, it sounds like a good idea to link your currency to an underlying asset such as gold. Think about this. If we were still on the gold standard in the United States, and I know it feels like such a foreign concept to most of us because during our lifetimes, we've pretty much not been on the gold standard. And we've been trained to think that this stuff, right, is valuable. And look, I still think it's valuable. You come over and flash a wad of this in front of me. If I flash this, if I offer this to you right now, you're going to take it, okay? But the reality is it's based on history. If we look at history as any context, no matter what this is, no matter what, whether it's Venezuelan bolivar or Hungarian forint or Russian rubles, if it's not based on anything real, history has taught us that it becomes worth less. That's just a fact. Pat Holland and I were talking earlier. We got to look, and guys, I know I'm so sick. I'm sorry I have to repeat this. I'm not sick of hearing it, but we kind of become numb to this fact. In 2022, the world central banks bought more gold than any other year since 1950, I think it was. And last year, they bought just a little bit less. So last year was not a record year, but it was very close to being a record year. What does that tell us? What does that tell us? These are the most sophisticated. These are the insiders, right? This is what's going on in the world. Pat Holland and I were talking about another fact of history, right? During World War II, during World War I, when the United States was providing a lot of the arms to the world, okay? When the British, when the French, when foreign countries wanted to buy arms from us during times of war because there was so much uncertainty, you know what we demanded? We demanded to be paid in gold. Gold has never lost, and silver, lost its purpose in the world as being the base of the monetary system. It's kind of like a bear that goes into hibernation. And I could be wrong. Don't make any financial decisions based upon what I'm saying. I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong, and it's what I believe, so I share it with you. You're entitled to your own opinions. You can leave comments in the comment section. All that I do ask is that you give this a thumbs up because, well, that helps the channel, and we want the channel to grow, and we want this information to get out to more people. But gold and silver, are they? I'll ask you that question. Are gold and silver like a bear that's been in hibernation that is just now waking up? So I want to hear from you. I think it is bear. Now, bear is spelled capital B-E-A-R. I can do that without looking. Type bear in the comments if you think, not that we're in a bear market like this guy for gold, but that gold and silver are like a bear. They're powerful. They're strong, right? They haven't gone anywhere. They've just been in hibernation. But is it possible that they're just now starting to wake up. When we know what Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Ethiopia, and United Arab Emirates, I can say the 10 BRICS countries faster than anybody on the internet. When we know how they're moving to gold, we know that Russia, we just got a report from Bloomberg, has been doing financial transactions in gold with the United Arab Emirates, with who else? Iran, a number. We know what's going on with Zimbabwe. We know what went on with Basel III and making gold a tier 1 asset in the international banking community. Does that make any sense? We got to take a step back and look at all this. We know what John Exter said about silver and gold. And he didn't die. I think he died in 2005. He was worked for the New York Fed. He spent his career trying to beat the table, telling people that silver and gold are still the base of the pyramid. Exter's pyramid. It's an upside down pyramid. See that visual? Yeah, it's about the best I can do here in the basement, but we are going to be upgrading our live stream software soon, so stay tuned, viewers. But at the bottom of that pyramid, supporting everything, are silver and gold. Little tiny part. You got to look this up. Above that is paper money? Huh? Yeah, here's a visual for you. At the bottom, you've got a silver, you got paper money. Up here, you got debt, you got electronic money, you got derivatives, all kinds of craziness, okay? So the reality is, in my opinion, that silver and gold are waking up from hibernation. And gold, we're hearing this more all the time. I heard Robert Kiyosaki said this last night. When gold runs, silver sprints. So when gold goes up to $2,500, $2,600, like I said it would by May, that's just my prediction. Don't make any financial decisions based upon that, please. But when gold runs to $2,500, $2,600, silver will sprint. We got big updates. We finally got some good news, basement dwellers, for silver and gold. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you a quick chart that will explain to you in no uncertain terms why the silver and gold price have been getting hammered lately. But first, let's say thanks to our channel sponsor, Pembex. If you want to get your hands on some silver, gold, or platinum before potentially the price takes off, do yourself a favor and check out Pembex. Look, when you buy precious metals, really, I think it's to your benefit to be concerned about one thing, that you get the most metal for your money. And when you compare the prices at Pembex to what you can pay at other big online bullion dealers, you'll find that that is the case with Pembex. You will get more money for your metal. You'll get the exact same metal, you'll get great service, and you'll get great selection as well. Thank you, Pembex. I always feel good recommending Pembex because every piece of feedback I've received from the basement dweller community has been positive on Pembex. I think Pembex is best. You will too. They do check all the boxes. Okay, where was I? All right, let's look at this chart. You know, our good friend Sean, right? Fellow basement dweller, sent me this morning. Hold on here. Bear with me, if you will. Here we go. Some stuff still is trades based on rates. Here's gold versus the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, okay? What that basically shows you is the purple line would be the Treasury yield when it goes up, okay, which is down on this graph, okay? When the Treasury yield goes up, which is down, the price of gold goes up. It's totally related right now. That's what we're seeing. And that has to do with the Fed. That has to do with the value of the dollar, however you want to say it, right? The 10-year Treasury, and we talk about that all the time. I didn't check this morning, but yesterday it was around 4.3. It probably came down today because we've got some big news that we're going to cover next that is probably the first piece of bad news, which is good news in this inverted world we live in for the silver price and the gold price. But there's an opposite reaction when the rate on the 10-year bond goes up, okay? the price of gold and silver go down. When the rate on the 10-year bond goes down, we will see the price of gold and silver continue much, much higher. We got 100 thumbs up. Let's ring the bell. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything. Yeah, it really is true. This show, this channel is not possible without you being here right now. And it's a big deal, right? We come together, we joke around, we like to talk about a lot of different subjects, but we have a common theme, a common interest, and that is precious metals and digging into what's going on in the precious metals market. So again, thank you on behalf of myself, Coin Shop Chris, Susie. Hey, and do me a favor while we're at it. Let's all participate. All you got to do is press the 8 button on your keyboard 5 times. Type 8 to say thank you to all the moderators. They come on here and help moderate the chat. Thank you, moderators. 8 is great, okay? No, Annie Oakley, to answer your question, we did do the giveaway yesterday. The winner has 96 hours to claim the prize. You know what? This one more time. Let me see if I can pull up the winner. And then we're going to get to this news, big news, big news that affected the silver price and gold price. The winner yesterday, Unspoken Words, 2010. I don't know if you guys can see this. That's the guy who won the giveaway. He has yet to send me an email, the guy or gal. I'm not sure if it's one or the other. See if I can get that. There we go. If anybody knows him or her, they need to send me an email. They still have, 72 hours to claim the prize? Let me show you the prize real quick. 25 ounces. Let's see if I can get it to shine, of beautiful silver. Really nice stuff. A nice selection. Okay. So this morning, you guys know one of the smartest minds on YouTube, Bald Guy Money YouTube channel. A friend of mine, he's been on the channel several times. Bald guy from Dubai. He's either in Dubai or the United Arab Emirates, but super great guy. And he alerted me to this, and this is a story that we need to cover because it is impacting the gold price and the silver price. Looks like gold, hey, $1,999 on the spot market right now. $1,999.90. Can we get to 2,000 in the spot market? I think we can. But let's get to this story that is going to have and has had big impact on the silver price and gold price. Okay. I got this from our friend Bald Guy this morning. Retail sales tumble 0.8% in January. Much more than expected. That's bad news for the economy. Can you imagine that retail sales would tumble? I mean, are your credit cards maxed out? Are your savings gone? Are you pulling money out of your 401k? Because if you are, I'm sorry that you're in that position, but that's what the basic average American is doing. They've spent all their savings. They've run up the debt on their credit card. They're now doing buy now, pay later. We can't even count how much that is at this point. And people don't have money. Retail sales are dropping. Now that is good for the silver price and gold price, because what that indicates is a slowing economy. Can we say depression? I'll say it. I'm the only guy saying it. I think there's a better than what most people expect chance right now for a depression. Tell you what. I want you in the comment section to type either D for depression. I'm asking you to type one letter. D for depression, or R for recession, or S for soft landing, whatever the heck that is. That's the new thing. Remember, inflation's transitory? According to the Fed 3 years ago, we believe everything the Federal Reserve says, okay? We believe it, right? Right? Because 3 years ago, they told us that we don't have to worry about inflation. Then they told us it was temporary. And then they said, don't worry, basement dwellers. It's transitory, but still not a big problem. And by the way, they also told us 2.5 years ago that they weren't going to start raising interest rates until the end of 2023, which was just 6 short weeks ago. And we know they were wrong about that as well. Now, no matter how hard they try to fudge the numbers to make it look like Bidenomics is working, right? It's working. They can't. At some point, they can't. Didn't we hear from UPS? Trucking volumes are down. Didn't we hear from FedEx? Volumes are down. Didn't we hear from the railroads? Volumes are down. Aren't we hearing from these big ports? Volumes are down. Didn't we hear that the worldwide shipping is in a state of disarray on top of the fact that the economy, they'll blame it, now they're going to blame it on the Red Sea, right? Because the Red Sea, 15% of the world's economy goes through there. Didn't they tell us the Panama Canal shut down? Because, I mean, now, finally, we get these bad retail sales numbers, right? Who can afford? Your average Americans, right? Unless you're part of the top 1% or 5% of the country, people are, my nose is itching, excuse me, are in big trouble. Here, let's read this. I think I got this printed out. I thought I had it printed out. Hold on. Where did it go? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Retail sales declined 0.8% for January, down from a 0.4% gain in December, and worse than estimates for a 0.3% drop. So they thought it was only going to drop 0.3%, but it dropped 0.8%. That's pretty significant. Sales of building materials, garden stores were especially weak, sliding 4%. Miscellaneous store sales fell 3%, and motor vehicle parts and retailers saw a 2% decline. Also, initial claims for unemployment insurance. This is interesting. Totaled 212,000 for the week ending February 10th, a decline of 8,000 from the previous week's upwardly revised total. So retail sales are down. Employment's great. You know why? Does this compute for you? Because it computes for me. Retail sales are down because nobody has any money, right? The gig is up. Potentially, unless they'll pump some more or whatever, a little more smoke into the fun house for everybody. But employment's great because people are desperate to work, to just try to put food on the table, to just try to be able to make ends meet. People are desperate to work. I don't know, guys. I just think it's a situation that is as we move into 2024, as we move further into this year, is going to become much more tenuous. Hey, guys, please don't forget to get thumbs up. I'd like to get to 200 so we could ring the cowbell today. What about, let's talk about some doom and gloom, all right? Because Bald Guy also brought up, although I'd already read this, that Japan unexpectedly fell into a recession. So let's look at the big picture of the world. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, the 85, that's the silver bear. Boy, everybody's giving me trouble. He's back there. I'll move him up closer. That's Schmitty, the silver bear, whose blindfold will come off when we get $85 silver. We're talking about Mr. Pat Holland coming to do that, trying to get Coin Shop Chris to come. We're going to have a big party when silver hits $85. But what if we go into this depression that we're talking about? Recession, depression. They won't call it a depression, right? Like they don't call what's going on in the world right now war, right? We're not at war. What do you mean, right? But what if we go into a major recession? And what's going on? Let's just take a little bit of a broad view of what's going on. We know China is slowing down. China's got all kinds of troubles. Their stock market, I haven't looked for a few days, but it was down 20-30%, down significantly. Okay? But we're also now getting news that Japan is in a recession. Now, Japan, nobody talks about Japan. Have you noticed that? Nobody ever worries about Japan. Boy, when we were kids, a lot of you are about my age, remember? I mean, people were like scared to death of Japan. That was what they were telling us back then. Think of all the things we were scared of: the Soviet Union, scared of Japan, and we're going to get back to Japan. What else have we been? Scared of one thing after another. There's always somebody they have to have us scared of. Have you picked up on that, America? That you get told to be scared? Remember Kim Jong-un? That was a few years back, right? Now it's Vladimir Putin. We got to be scared of China. China's kind of become the new Japan. I mean, I remember during the 80s. Do you remember during the 80s? I mean, this is people would call Japanese cars rice burners, right? They were going to take over the world. They bought Rockefeller Center. So let's back up. Let's back up and talk about the world economy, not just the United States, right? Because Putin the other night, when he was talking to Vladimir Putin was talking to Tucker Carlson, he talked about how he thought that China was the biggest economy in the world. I guess it depends how you measure it. Nonetheless, he also said that Russia was the biggest economy in Europe. I guess it depends on if you include Russia in Europe. Nonetheless, the world economy, we know the world is bifurcating, right? Yes, I'll do it for you. I know it's the moment you've been waiting for. The guy who can say the 10 BRICS countries faster than anyone else on the internet: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates. The world is bifurcating, right? So the world, in terms of cooperating and globalization, remember, globalization is going away. Are we headed to a worldwide deep recession or depression? And we know there's war going on top of it. What indications do we have? And what will that mean for the price of silver and gold? The value. Forget the price, right? Price is this. This is price. This is, right? We convert this into this. Wow, that's heavy. I can barely lift it, right? Real money, right? What does it mean? So let's look at the world economy. The United States, well, we got Bidenomics and everything's great because we know it's working. But what about the second place economy? China, we've already talked about that. Little bit of trouble. 3 and 4, and I guess they flip-flop now. But anyway, 3 and 4 are, so number 2's in trouble, China. 3 and 4 are Japan and Germany. Aren't we hearing that Germany is in a recession? Right? Germany, because the natural gas prices and a number of other crazy factors going on in Europe, is in a recession. And now we get this from Tokyo. Remember that song? You know, it's a good day for me to sing. Remember, there was a song, if you remember, it went like, Tokyo, Tokyo. Was it Thompson Twins or something? Anyway, Tokyo from Reuters. Japan. And Japan's a huge economy. We never talk about it. Why don't we talk? You need to talk about Japan. You pay attention to Japan. Unexpectedly slipped into a recession at the end of last year, losing its title as the world's third biggest economy to Germany, who's also in a recession, and raising doubts about when the central bank would begin to exit its decades-long ultra-loose monetary policy. We're living in a world of unicorn fart dust, okay? This kind of stuff. In Japan, they call it yen, right? They've got their own stinky flavor of unicorn fart dust over there, right? In Japan, you think we're bad. Japan is really bad in terms of, like, the government prints money, buys bonds. It's just, they really have given Jerome Powell a run for his money. And now the hens come home to roost in Tokyo. That's the fact. And they're hitting a recession. Some analysts are warning of another contraction in the current quarter as weak demand in China. See how it's all tied together, right? Sluggish consumption and production halts at a unit of Toyota Motor Corp opens a new tab pointing to a challenging path to an economic recovery. So the world economy, what do you think, right? Think about it. We think we're very United States centric. I mean, most Americans think that Africa is a country. Probably even me from time to time. Africa is a continent made up of many countries. That's your geography lesson for the day, basement dwellers. Speaking of Africa, let's say thank you to channel sponsor Fortuna Silver. They've become more of a gold miner. They still have a silver mine in Mexico. They still have a silver mine in Peru, but they have a gold mine in Argentina, and even more exciting, they've got 2 gold mines in West Africa. And West Africa is a premier gold mining district. You'd be shocked if you learned how much gold and how sophisticated the gold mining industry has become in West Africa. Fortuna has a mine in Burkina Faso, but a new mine, the Seguela mine in Cote d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast, which is just exceeding expectations. Everything we've heard about it to this point, it's doing increasingly well. They also have a new deposit, a new exploration project in Senegal, the Diamba Sud project, a super exciting exploration potential. Check out Fortuna Silver. You can look on the channel. I've had Jorge Ganoza, the CEO, on many times. I think the world of him. Now, this world that we're living in, right, is changing and changing very, very quickly. Very quickly. We cannot deny that fact. Look, President Xi of China meeting with Vladimir Putin, they're parting words to each other. The world is changing like no other time in history, right? Guys, look, 99% of the people, especially if you're in a Western country, are asleep to this fact, right? They and I watched the Super Bowl. They're more into, I'm not putting anybody down. And I watched Netflix last night. I've been watching this NASCAR thing. Interesting. But anyway, right? But most people are just completely asleep about what's going on. You have chosen to dig a little deeper. You have chosen to kind of take a step back and listen to objective sources because you want to protect yourself. Now, a lot of us basement dwellers, we do that with silver and gold. Are we to be proven correct? I think so. Is there a guarantee? I think not, right? We don't know for sure. I always throw in, don't make any financial decisions based on what I'm saying. It's my opinion. Listen to me. Listen to the bald guy money. Go over there. Check out his channel. Tell him you're from Ron's Basement. Subscribe. He's a super nice guy, super smart guy. Go to the Pound of Gold. Chris Marcus from Arcadia Economics has unbelievable great guests on. Listen to what Andy Scheckman says. Listen to what Lynette Zhang says, right? A lot of you love Lynette Zhang. She says, I'll never forget this, right? It was one of my favorite, most memorable moments when I had Lynette here in the basement. Like, I want to reach over and give her a hug. I was like, Lynette, everything feels crazy right now. And she said, Ron, that's because things are crazy right now. Because we're at the end of the system, likely. And when we get toward the end, things get really, really crazy. We've talked about that. They kick the can down the road, right? You understand that concept. They started kicking the can probably in the mid-90s. When the tech bubble burst, they kicked the can. When the GFC, Great Financial Crisis, the can got bigger. They still could kick it. But it's gotten bigger and bigger. The problems have gotten bigger and bigger. The temporary solutions from the Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell have gotten bigger and bigger. Everything has escalated. Are we at the point, right? Are we at the tipping point? I don't know. Maybe, look, there were people saying this 10 years ago, and it went on for another 10 years. Maybe it goes on forever. Maybe we are in a new make-believe world where this stays valuable forever. This is barbaric relic, right? Who wants this stuff? Nobody wants it right now. You can buy it. The premiums on silver are about as low as I remember in a long, long time. Right? Think about this. 1 year ago, people were spending $52 each on American Silver Eagles. Right now, you can get them for $28, $29. I think silver's up. Let's check silver. Hold on here, folks. Hi-ho, silver. Let's take a up to the moment look at the silver price. Silver is up 2%, up 46 cents. Man, It really was up earlier, $23. Whew. Good thing I didn't look at it then. I'd be sad now, but instead we're happy. Silver, right, is up. Okay? It's just very interesting. I'm going to rant for a moment about what's wrong with it. How can we not have a Super Bowl parade in this country without a shooting? I knew it. I'm not honest engine. When I knew I live in Missouri, it's very close to me. Let's go fishing, Daniel. We will. Coin Shop Chris and I are going to visit you, and we will go fishing. No doubt about it. Thank you for the super chat. When I heard about the Super Bowl parade in Kansas City, I had this feeling that something was going to happen. I just did. And sure enough, right, a shooting. You know, how can we have a Super Bowl parade? And I mean, it's just like, it's like if you have a big parade in St. Louis, somebody's going to, I mean, what's wrong with this country? I'm sorry, I digress, but it's just very, very disheartening and saddening that we're living in this time where you can't have a Super Bowl parade without the likely prospect that a couple people aren't going to get shot. I mean, it's crazy. Thank you, Ozman, for the super chat. It's just, and then what's the other thing they're scaring everybody with yesterday? I turned on the news yesterday afternoon, and I guess apparently there's this mystery weapon that they can't tell us what it is, but it's a big threat. It's a big threat. And then you hear, I'm listening to congressmen and the politicians, some of them saying like, insinuating that it's interesting, the timing of this, because they're trying to get this aid for Ukraine passed. I mean, what kind of a monkey show world are we living in? I'm sorry, I digress. Okay? So it's happening, guys. It's happening. The cream is rising to the top. Gold is rising to the top. Silver will rise to the top. I think a great analogy is that gold and silver, big, powerful forces in the world, right? They're kind of like a bear who's been in hibernation for the last 50 years. But with everything changing, everything going on, we are going to see a re-recognition, okay? Not an emergence, because they've always been there, but a re-recognition that silver and gold are real money. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, can you imagine 5 years ago if we'd been talking, if you were here in the basement and I told you 5 years ago everything that would change in the world in the coming 5 years, you wouldn't have believed me, right? I wouldn't have believed me, right? Who knows what's going to happen here in the coming 5 years? And the trend is toward more crazy situations unfolding. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. Can we get to 200 thumbs up, basement dwellers? Nobody leave. Nobody leave, please. Okay? We got a few more points we need to hit on. And we need to get to our 200 thumbs up. What about this prospect? You'll need to watch the guru himself, Mr. Pat Holland, who I'll have on the channel of a video coming out here in the coming days. We haven't talked a lot about this. You guys are always, could your silver and gold be confiscated? Imagine, right? A presidential decree. Roosevelt did it in 1933. He confiscated everybody's gold. What if we got some decree that came down that said all American citizens must turn in their gold and silver immediately? I get that question from you all the time, right? Like, do you think precious metals will get confiscated again? And who knows, like we just talked about, over the coming 5 years, how things will play out. Do I think it's going to happen? Do you think, let me ask you, do you think that we could face confiscation in the coming 5 years? If you do, type Y. If you do, type no. And just be honest, okay? Some form of either gold or silver confiscation. I would say no. Annie Oakley says, what silver? Yeah, I don't own any either, okay? I'm just, for the people that do, Annie, we're asking the question. For the people, yes, no, Silvershire, no. Okay? Darren, no. Jake, no. Okay. So if I had to answer yes or no, I'd say no. Is it a potential prospect? Possibly. Okay. We've brought up, and again, I'll bring up one last time. Bald Guy Money, I thought, had a brilliant point about gold confiscation. He's like, they don't need to confiscate gold right now because all they have to do, since the currency is not tethered, you know what this is tethered to? This is based on nothing. If they want to buy gold, all they have to do is fire up the printing press, make a bunch of money, press a digital button. They can buy all the gold they want. So right now, I'd say no gold. Silver, I could see possibly getting facing some form of turn your silver in, be a patriot. We need your silver. The defense industry needs it. The manufacturing, electronics, it's the green initiative needs your silver, right? Type thing. I think it's more likely like right now. But think about this. Think about this. As we know, the world that we live in this moment is changing like never before. Bifurcation, right? The 10 BRICS countries all moving towards gold. All the central banks buying more gold. All the new transactions going on that are kind of sort of based on gold, right? The Saudis kind of sort of selling oil for gold in China, all right? As all that changes as those BRICS countries get bigger and bigger, because don't forget, not only are those 10 that I recited for you at world record speed earlier, 10 countries in the BRICS, but there's 30 other countries, and they're representing a much bigger power in the world from a population perspective, from an economic size perspective. Guys, India's booming, okay? 1.4 billion people, and so it goes bigger and bigger. If we get to a point, remember back in World War II and World War I, the United States said to the world, we'll be glad to sell you whatever you need, but we don't want your currency because we don't know that it's going to be worth anything in the future because you're at war. We want your gold. That's what we told them. Well, what if the tables were turned and you've got all those BRICS countries plus the ones that add, and they're all, remember, they don't like the dollar. They've said that, okay? And you know what else? Not only do they not trust the dollar, even though they're aligned, they don't necessarily trust each other, but what they do trust is gold and silver. They're smart, and they have a whole different perspective on it. So what if that big power, right? And we're in America and we're like, hey, China, we need to buy some products from you to stock up our Walmarts. Our citizens are revolting, right? There's no Barbie dolls. There's no toaster ovens. There's no TV. And we need to buy. You need to give us. We want to buy. And they say that's great, America, right? So now it's this big power. They're like, but we don't really want your paper dollars. We want gold. Could they force us to re-recognize, to revalue gold? That's an interesting prospect as we move forward. Now back to the confiscation, and I will ring the cowbell before I sign off. But back to the confiscation, everybody's all worried about gold and silver getting confiscated, right? They really are. That's a big worry within the silver and gold community. Then what I would recommend is to become involved on some level, because we do have this going on in this country right now, a wave of legislation, right? Gold and silver legal tender legislation. I got a whole list of states. I want 15, and Pat Holland and I just recorded a video. Again, it'll be out over the weekend, but 15 states that have some form of legal tender legislation on the pending right now. That's how we protect ourselves. And that's what we're seeing on a state-by-state basis. It's kind of like, I hate to use this analogy, but when they legalized marijuana, it started in one state, grew, and now, apparently, even here in Missouri, I could go buy marijuana if I wanted to. I don't smoke marijuana, but if I wanted to, I could just go buy some marijuana, right? It's this bizarre concept. So we are in a situation where if you're afraid of things like confiscation, then maybe get involved and or take a look and be supportive of what is this growing movement of legal tender legislation throughout the country. Let me ring the bell. We got the 200 bell warning. Okay, here we go. It's the 200. It's even got it written on there from our old friend Joe F. And one extra ring for our good friend Jake from Jake's Custom Parts. I appreciate you joining me today. I'll be talking with Andy Schechtman later today. Look for that video in a few days. Thank you to our mining company sponsor, First Mining Gold. Okay, 5 million gold deposit ounce projects in Canada, world-class size projects, right? 5 million ounces each, and they've got a handful of other projects, another 3 million ounces in Canada, right? 13 million ounces of gold tucked away safely in the ground in Canada. And I did some unbelievable calculations last night. At the company's current market cap of $78 million, that's equal to $6 per ounce. Now, again, this is in the ground, right? They're in the development stage. They're working on the permits. They're not actively mining it yet. But, you know, I like to hold precious metals in my hand. To me, I also like to own stocks in companies that have precious metals in what I think is the world's safest vault, tucked away safely, buried in the ground. Okay, so if you're interested in learning about a development stage gold mining company with what I think is a lot of potential, also chairman of the board of First Mining Gold, Keith Neumeyer, buying unbelievable amounts of the stock, check out firstmininggold.com. The other thing I'll mention to you is I did an interview with a copper company. Now, I'm not a copper guy, right? I never have been, but I do own this stock now. It's a company called Callinex, Callinex. Max Porterfield is the CEO. The thing that stuck, a lot of things stuck with me about this company, but they're working on a exploration development stage project in Canada in a town called Flin Flon. Flin Flon. And Flin Flon is like a 5,000 person town. It's a mining town. There had been many copper mines there over the years. Even during the Great Depression, it like saved a lot of Canadians because it was a place for them to work. As of like a year and a half, 2 years ago, the last copper mine shut down. And Max and his team are exploring an exciting new project only about, I think, 14 kilometers outside of Flin Flon, and they're finding some very impressive copper deposits. They've actually published an official deposit now, but they think there's a lot more to come. If you're interested in copper, look, any stock, anything, I'm not giving financial advice. All these are risky, but man, the mining sector, whether you're talking copper, silver, gold, has been beaten to a pulp. Value opportunities abound. So if you're interested in copper, I might recommend you take a look at Callinex, Callinex.ca is their website. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day. Okay. Thank you. All right. Be nice to yourself. The day after Valentine's Day, you can still be good to yourself. It's worth it. Okay. Don't think that you're that you're not as good as anybody else out there, because you are, and it's a big deal to me. Right? I want you to know that you've joined me here in the basement. We're all friends here, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.